Welcome back, everyone. This is Isaac with 90s Nerd Media. I'm back on the couch with another wrestling review. So, of course, this is WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 41, that was coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. This was a wild weekend. So much happened, so much to get into. We're going to cover both nights, but we're going to start off with Saturday night, night one. I'm going to go through a rundown of everything that happened and give you my reaction and my reviews and give you a rating at the end. And then we're going to do night two in a separate video. So, stick around and check out both videos and let's get into it. Okay, so we start the night off with Jade Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this is one of the most highly anticipated wrestling matches in the past few years. Obviously, you have Jey Uso, who's one of the most over wrestlers right now. He's one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster. And then you had Gunther, who's been a champion for a majority of the time that he's been in WWE. So everyone was looking forward to this matchup. And I'm not surprised that they started the night off with this match because you wanted to get the night off to a hot start. And the crowd was roaring and ready to go. And you could tell from the entrance when Jay came out, everyone was hype. You could see that he was a little bit emotional, seeing 60,000 people, yeeting and cheering for him. And then we had Gunther, who was locked in and looked like he was ready to go. And so this is one of the best matches of the night, and honestly, one of the best WrestleMania openers in a long time. So the match itself, you can see both wrestlers, they were locked in. Both wrestlers performed very well. I think from top to bottom, this is one of the best matches I've seen from Jey Uso. Everything was sharp, everything was clean. You can see that he really wanted to show his toughness, and he was taking a lot of those chops from Gunther, and you can see that he was coming back and he was laughing and he was telling Gunther, hit me some more, hit me again. He really wanted to show everyone that he was tough and that he could handle Gunther. And this match went back and forth. We had a lot of heavy blows, and at the end, Jey Uso, he finally picked up that championship win after 3 splashes from the top rope, and then he put Gunther in a sleeper and made Gunther tap out. And that in itself was shocking, seeing Gunther tap out. And he picked up the championship win, and the crowd went crazy. And I love Jey Uso. You can see I had my Yeet shirt on. I'm very happy for him. I think this was the moment that he deserved and that he earned. I said from earlier this year after Saturday night's main event that Jey Uso showed that he could be on the championship level, on the World Heavyweight Championship level. And he went toe to toe with Gunther back then. And I knew at that moment that, he was going to get that chance and opportunity to show that he's a world champion. So I'm happy for Jay. I think this match was one of the best matches of the weekend, and both wrestlers deserve a round of applause for starting off WrestleMania with such a great match. So for the second match of the night, we have another championship match. This was the War Raiders versus the New Day, and this match was pretty good. Obviously, we didn't have a ton of build up for this match going into WrestleMania. It felt like it was a little bit last minute, so we didn't have like a big feud between the War Raiders and the New Day. But the New Day had been showing over the past couple of months that they were very intense, with the heel turn, and that they were kind of focused on getting back to that championship level. And so the War Raiders, they've been, dominating since they came back and since they won the championships. And so both of these teams, they're great in the ring. So I wasn't surprised about that. The New Day did pick up the win using a little bit of a dirty means, dirty tactics, which fits for their new heel personas. And you can see that they ran out of the ring at the end of the match because they know that they stole one. But I am happy for the New Day. They're deserving champions. They're one of the most decorated tag teams of all time. And I feel like they're just going to kind of take this opportunity and run with it. So the third match of the night was Naomi versus Jade Cargill, and this is one of the better build-ups leading into WrestleMania. Obviously, we had the whole mystery about who attacked Jade a couple of months ago, and when it was revealed that it was Naomi, we had her lean fully into this heel turn, and her, going back and forth with Jade about feeling disrespected and feeling not appreciated. And so a lot of people were looking forward to this, seeing Jade get her revenge. And this was a fun matchup. I was happy for both wrestlers, getting the spotlight. Naomi, especially, for her to have like a one-on-one match on WrestleMania, with her being a veteran and being around this long. This was a big moment for her. Obviously, for Jade, this was her first like solo match at WrestleMania. So I'm glad that both of them got the spotlight, and I feel like this match lived up to it. We got to see Naomi. She pulled out a bunch of moves that we haven't seen from her. She was very creative in the ring. And obviously, Jade, she looked strong. She looked powerful. She was throwing Naomi around. And Jade ended up picking up the win and getting her revenge. So this was a fun matchup. I'm glad both of these wrestlers got to have the spotlight. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens next with both of them. So the next match we had LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship, and these are two wrestlers who are both super popular right now. We had Jacob Fatu, who, despite being a heel, you can see had a lot of crowd support. They were cheering his name from the beginning, and then we had LA Knight, who's been one of the hottest wrestlers in WWE for the past couple of years. So I feel like this was a great matchup between two wrestlers who are just like shooting their way up towards the top of the card, and this was a fun match. Both of these wrestlers are very creative in the ring. They're very physical, but they're also very athletic. So we got to see a lot of those moves. But Jacob ended up picking up the win, hitting the springboard moonsault a couple of times on LA Knight. And I feel like it was just his time, to be a champion. And we could see that the crowd was fully behind him. And obviously, LA Knight, he had a strong showing. He put up a good match, and he's been a good champion over the past couple of months. But I just feel like everyone could see that this was turning towards Jacob being shooting towards the top as the next champion. So the next match we had Ray Phoenix Jr. versus El Grande Americano, and this was a bit of a last minute change up because we had an injury substitution. Ray Mysterio unfortunately was injured and not able to compete, so they brought in Ray Phoenix Jr., who just recently made his SmackDown debut. So that was a bit of a surprise that they brought in somebody who just was added to the roster recently. But uh, Ray Phoenix Jr. is well known. He's one of the most popular luchadors in wrestling, so we knew that he could compete at this level, but it was a little bit of a surprise him getting this one-on-one spotlight versus El Grande Americano. But it kind of fit with the storyline. Of course, El Grande Americano, if you believe this is Chad Gable, having this luchador problem, getting to fight one of the top luchadors in the world. And it was a fun matchup. Obviously, Ray, he's one of the best luchadors, so he got to put on a show for people who haven't seen him wrestle yet. So this was a great stage for him. And El Grande Americano, he also showed that he's one of the better wrestlers in the world, and he kind of adjusted his style, and he's doing like more luchador moves. And he ended up picking the win by using dirty means, which we've seen from him before. But this was a fun little matchup, a great showcase for both wrestlers, and I'm interested to see like how the rest of the storyline plays out with El Grande Americano now picking up a win at WrestleMania. This is only going to add, more to his legacy. So next we had Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's World Championship. And this storyline had gotten a little bit messy over the past couple of weeks. We had a war of words between Charlotte and Tiffy and kind of going back and forth in interviews and in the ring. And so this was a very tense matchup. I feel like a little bit of real life kind of bled over into this match. But as far as wrestling wise, both of these women are at the top of their game. Obviously, Charlotte is a legend, and she's competed at a bunch of WrestleManias before and a bunch of championship matches. And then we have Tiffany Stratton, who has been one of the hottest wrestlers in the company since her debut, and she kind of shot right to the top and shows that she's been a deserving champion. And so this was a good matchup. It was very intense. Both of these women broke out their full arsenal of moves. They were kind of beating the hell out of each other. And we had Tiffany. She showed that she could hang with Charlotte, and I think that was the biggest thing for her, is that she had to show that she deserved this moment. She deserved to be in the spotlight, and she was the first champion of the night to retain her belt. And so I feel like this is only going to add to her being one of the top wrestlers in the company and kind of propel her even further as far as popularity. So finally, we get to the main event. We had Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk in a triple threat match with the added stipulation of Paul Heyman coming out and being in the corner of CM Punk. And so there was a lot of build up for this match. All three wrestlers, they have such a deep history with each other, and there's such hatred and bad feelings going all three ways. And so I feel like everyone was kind of looking forward to this matchup. And then you had CM Punk finally getting the main event WrestleMania, so that was a big moment for him. But you had Seth and Roman who've shown that they can be capable of main event in WrestleMania several times over. So everyone was kind of looking forward to this, seeing how this was going to play out, and it did not disappoint. This was a great matchup. It was very fun. All three wrestlers had great chemistry together. Of course, it spilled out into the stands for a while. We had CM Punk and Seth Rollins fighting in the crowd. Then you had Roman, diving over the barricade and taking out both men. And then you had this whole dynamic with Seth and Roman where we didn't know if they were going to try to work together to take out CM Punk. And then we had this moment near the end of the match where, Seth Rollins is talking to Roman. He's like, hey, look, we got to take this guy out. It's me and you. This should be us. Let's go back to our Shield days. Let's do the Shield power bomb through the table. And Roman looked like he was kind of just torn between if he wanted to help with Seth or if he wanted to go and just fight this on his own. And it looked like him and Seth were going to go back to their Shield days and team up against CM Punk. But then Roman ended up going against that. He instead attacked both men, put both of them to the tables. And then we get to the shocker of the night where we have Paul Heyman and he has the chair and we don't know who he's going to help. And it looks like he's going to help out CM Punk. But as soon as he gives CM Punk the chair and it looks like he's going to hit Roman, Paul Heyman kicks him in the balls. And this, led to Roman feeling like Paul Heyman was back in his corner. And so, the crowd was shocked. Everyone was just kind of, losing their shit. Like, Paul Heyman came back home. He came back to where he belonged with Roman, and he gave Roman the chair. And we had that moment where Seth Rollins is standing in the same spot where he betrayed Roman, and it looks like Roman was finally going to get his revenge and hit Seth with that chair and, pick up the victory. But then we had another shocker where Paul Heyman, he hits Roman in the nuts, and then he kind of makes this full heel turn with him and Seth Rollins. So we see that they have this alliance, and everyone is just like their mind is completely blown. Nobody kind of anticipated this happening, and then we have Seth Rollins, hit the stomp on Roman to pick up the win. And at the end, we see the pose of Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, this new alliance and them being united. And so that was a great ending to a fun match and just an overall great matchup. This was main event worthy, and I feel like all three men, put on a great show. And then, of course, we had the surprise ending, and so everyone was kind of talking about that, after the match. And I feel like this was a great direction for them to go. It was a surprise, but it made sense because we know Seth Rollins, he's kind of conniving. He's always been a bit of a, person who can turn his back on anyone, as we know. He could betray anyone at any moment. And so having him be the person who aligned with Paul Heyman, that just opens up a whole new world of like storylines and possibilities. And, that's going to be the thing that everybody wants to talk about going into Monday Night Raw. And so that was a great ending. Nobody was anticipating that. So they kind of swerved the whole audience. And it was just a fun end to a great night. So my overall rating for Saturday night, I would give it a B plus. I feel like, we had a strong start with Jade and Gunther, and then we finished strong with the triple threat match. And then we also had some fun matches in between there, great championship defenses. We had the, Jacob Fatu winning the championship. We had the New Day winning. We had Tiffany retaining. So night one got off to a good start. I feel like it was a fun night and a very strong night for WrestleMania.